Welcome to Mike's Stock Tips. I'm Michael Vanderbach. I work as a software engineer and I'm interested in investing in stocks. I'm making these videos to share my research with others. My main interest is in the stocks that make up the S&P 500 and S&P 400 because I feel like these stocks would be more stable and hopefully grow in the future. My strategy is to buy the stock at a discount when it's low and also make money off of its dividend over time. And hopefully the stock's value will grow over time. One of the people that watch my channel wanted me to cover information about dividends. So I thought that was a good idea, so I'll just take some time right now to explain how dividends work. I've actually learned a bit about how dividends work just by investing in them and also trying to figure out how the yields work and all that stuff. So I'll just talk about the information about dividends that I found out. A dividend is amount per share that is awarded for holding a stock during the ex-dividend date. The dividend is awarded per share and most of the time does not change. Dividends can be given at different schedules such as quarterly or once a year. Note that if a stock price goes up, then the yearly dividend will go down. The counterexample is if the stock price goes down, the dividend will go up. The reason for this is the yield is a yearly dividend award, the yearly dividend award amount over the current price of the stock as a percentage. I'm not an investment advisor. Past results are not indicative of future results. However, I use past results to help decide if what I feel is the right time to buy a stock. I do own some of the stocks that I talk about. Others I might plan to buy. Some I just find interesting and would like to share them. Please do your own research before investing in any of the stocks I discuss if you're interested in them. A lot of the stocks that came up this week were also reported in previous weeks, so I'm just going to quickly go over the stocks that showed up again this week. So for communication, I saw AT&T, which has a great dividend of over 7%. Verizon also showed up. TDS also showed up. And yeah, those have very good dividends as well. Let's take a look at the graph for AT&T. So I show here the 52-week, the range over the 52-week and the COVID low, and then the current price is 27. So it's still pretty low. And if we look at the 2-year graph, it still could go down a bit, but it still seems like a good buy. Verizon, it's also kind of low, but it at the COVID low it's quite a bit lower, and there was some low points, so it could possibly go down more. The TDS graph looks kind of like the Verizon graph. It's slowly growing up, but again, there is room that it could possibly go down more. For energy, COG showed up again. COG seems like a good buy. It's kind of near the bottom. Went up a little bit recently, but still seems like a good buy overall. For healthcare, Omega Healthcare Investors showed up, and the Medical Properties Trust showed up. Yeah, so Omega Properties Trust has been growing, but it went down recently. There is room for it to go down, so I would kind of watch this and maybe get it when if it goes lower. But the dividend yield is very high. The Medical Properties Trust seems like it grew over time, but there's still room that it could possibly go down. With the way the news is right now, it might make sense to wait and see what happens with it. Campbell, yeah, it's got a pretty good dividend. The price is low, but over the 5-year, it kind of trending down. So I think I'm still waiting to see, since it still seems like it's on a downward trend. So probably want to wait and see if it turns around at some point. Citrix showed up again. Let's take a look at its graph. So it's pretty low right now. Yeah, so it seems that the price is a bit higher than the stocks that I like to invest in, but it's kind of the bottom for a long period, so it seems like it's a good, if you want to invest in technology, that maybe is a good time to buy that one. Fidelity showed up again. Fidelity looks like it's a pretty good one to invest in. It's pretty near the low for other than the COVID low, so it might have a little bit more room to go down, but yeah, seems okay. This one, JBG Smith, showed up again. So let's take a look at the graph. So it's been growing during COVID, but it's still much lower than the pre-COVID times, so it might be good, but the housing market's been kind of strange right now, so maybe it makes sense to wait and see where it goes. Maybe you can get it a little lower. Energizer also showed up again. Let's take a look at its graph. So Energizer is low kind of since COVID. Only COVID was a lot lower there, so I think it's something to watch and see if you want to get in on that. The 3% dividend is good there. I'm gonna check out the new stocks for this week. The first ones I'm gonna look at are ones from the S&P 500. So 2 stocks showed up from the S&P 500, which include Hormel Foods and Baxter International. Hormel's got a little bit higher dividend at 2% and Baxter at 1.5. Let's take a look at Hormel. Let's take a look at the 2-year graph. So it's a bit higher than the COVID low, but it's low for the most of the time period since the beginning of COVID. So it seems like maybe could be a good one to go in, but there's a possibility that it goes lower. So just watch that. I actually added this thing so you can focus and get a little bit bigger view of the graph. So let's look at the next one. So the next one is Baxter International. As I said, it has the 1.5% dividend. Let's look at the 2-year. I'll make the graph bigger. So this one is actually pretty near to the COVID low, so hopefully, I doubt it. It's probably not going to go much lower, so this might be a good price for this stock. And yeah, it gets 1.5% on the dividend. The rest of the stocks I'm going to cover from the S&P 400. First ones are miscellaneous ones, because I didn't have that many results for this week that were new. So the first one is an energy, which is a one gas company, and it's got a nice 3% dividend. And the other one that showed up was from the Tootsie Roll company with a 1% dividend. Let's take a look at one gas. And let's look at the 2-year graph. So this is the COVID low, and it's around here. So it's been going up over the year. It's higher than the COVID low, but there's also some other parts where it dips. So there's the possibility of maybe being able to get it a little bit lower. Like this one is at 64. So yeah, maybe you can get $5 or so lower per share. Let's look at the 5-year. It's kind of been growing over time, which is good, and so there's definitely room to grow to get back to the pre-COVID times, so that's a positive thing about that one. Let's look at the Tootsie Roll. Let's look at the 2-year. Yeah, on this graph, this part really stands out. That's sort of interesting what happened there. The other thing I noticed about this one, the time when most other stocks really took a big dip was around here, like March. Yeah, maybe this one. But like most of them would really drop, but it looked like Tootsie Roll didn't really get affected by COVID very much. But then like later during COVID, it went down, and now it's been slowly going up since then. And it had a recent drop. It does seem like maybe a good one to get in, especially if you enjoy Tootsie Rolls. Category I'm going to cover relates to properties. So this group has Sabra Healthcare Real Estate Investment Trust, Hudson Pacific Properties, and Kilroy Realty Group. So let's take a look at Sabra Healthcare. It's got a really high dividend at 7.52%. It's been growing since the COVID low. There is room for it to drop. Let's take a look at the 5-year. So it's kind of near, a little bit higher than the bottom at the 5-year. So there's room for it to go down. So I would kind of just watch this one, I think. This one's been growing since COVID. It's about half of before COVID. So there's more room for it to go up. There's also room for it to go down with that 4% dividend. So there's been a lot of news around properties and stuff recently. So these look interesting, but I think I would wait just to see what happens with the property market. This one, let's take a look at the 2-year, this Kilroy Realty Group with the 3% dividend. It's been growing. Let's look at the 5-year. It's kind of near where it was the low over the 5 years. It did kind of go up here, but I would say this one also should wait to see if it might go down over the near term. Well, I hope you found those stocks interesting. Please like and subscribe. Look forward to making the next video. Thanks. See you later.